inviting me. Sometimes as marketing heads or brand managers, you feel like you own the brand. The reality is that the brand owns you, and you're just a small part of a really long journey, right? So Brand Access has been around for about 16 years, and before that it had another avatar. I'm here to talk to you about that journey and the small part that myself and my team are playing in that. Have you guys got the slides up? I just gave them the laptop, so it's not their fault, it's mine. Just wait for it to come up. So I'm going to talk to you guys about the history first of Axis Bank, because sometimes when you try and understand how you're building a brand, you really do need to go and understand where it came from. And I kind of learned this in the previous organization I worked, where they actually rattled into you, saying, you know, this guy in 1896 in a lab created this particular product and stuff like that. So I don't have that interesting, maybe a story on Axis, but the slides are taking really long to come up. There it is. Okay. This should work, right, guys? Okay, perfect. So Carl Sagan said that to understand the future, you need to understand the past. And we're a bank that started with a semi-government history. So in 1993, when Manmohan Singh was opening up the economy, UTI Bank was formed. And the whole idea was that, you know, the economy is opening up and we need more and more banks to create capital in the country. But as we went through that journey and as India exploded, and I don't know how many of you grew up working in the 2000s, it was a time when you were kind of invincible, right? So anything you did, you touched, the country was growing, the economy was growing, and we all thought कि हम जो काम कर रहे हैं उसके वजह से हो रहा है. But you know, the reality is sometimes there are external factors. So hit with that reality in the early 2000s, I think the UTI Bank realized that, listen, there's too much competition, there are too many private players that have come in, we need to transform into a private bank. And that's how UTI Bank became Axis Bank in 2007, right? With this, within the bank, a lot of people who are still there from that time really love this, because there were two twins, saying sirf naam change hua hai. And after that, we recruited, I think our first marketing head around that time. She came in and she looked at the country and said, you know, here's a country that's really progressing. There's a burgeoning middle class. There's a corporate sector that's booming. How do you tap into this idea of progress, right? And that's how we created Badhti Ka Naam Zindagi, and that was the whole brand identity around that point for that period of time. And then I think somewhere in 2016, right? So all brands go through a journey first where they're trying to tell the consumer ki hum kaun hai, right? Who are we? And that's how Badhti Ka Naam Zindagi came, saying that we are going to enable your progress. But then the brand pivoted to, you know, taking a bit more of a cultural standpoint, saying that we are here to enable your progress, right? So India has become a progressive country. How do you tap into some of that? So you would have seen the advertising with Deepika Padukone at that time, where she was the brand ambassador for credit cards. It was about really tapping into a very alien sentiment to Indians, saying, maybe not in this part of the country as much, but most of us were reluctant to spend our money, right? To just like give in to our needs. And that's where the Deepika campaign came in. It was obviously fronted by cards. We did some campaigns around home loans, where the mother was telling the son that you should move out for the betterment. That's a very progressive kind of communication. And this is what I call almost like the second part of phase 2 of building this brand. Now, the bank went through a bit of a bad patch. 2019, we had a new CEO, Amitabh, who's our CEO right now. And he came in with this whole philosophy saying that, listen, the consumers progress, technology has come in. The banking industry is in a bit of, if you look around today, you will see it's one of the most highly disrupted industries across the world. So this World Cup, I think you could have counted at least 8-9 brands from the financial sector that were advertising, right? It's never happened before because there's so much competition coming in from outside the sector. So he wanted to make the brand, bring the brand as one, right? We have, like, as mentioned in the introduction, there are a lot of subsidiaries, there are a lot of different parts of the bank. We wanted to make it one and create a cultural identity that also told the consumer what they can expect from us, right? And this whole focus from Amitabh was, how do you become the most customer-centric bank, or one of the most customer-centric organizations in India? It's a very, very mean ask if you guys have ever worked in banking, because according to me, it's the only industry where we take your money and make you stand in a queue for it, right? So it's an industry that needs to evolve, and that's where we're trying to build this brand of Axis, and it's going to take some time. When we looked around, we also figured out that technology had now become, you know, almost an everyday occurrence, and banks especially, I don't know if you guys know this, but we have about, I think, in our bank, about 800 data scientists. We've got a large IT team. It's almost like there's a mini IT company within the bank, because that's what you need to it takes to run that. And banking had started moving a long time back as the economy boomed into a very personal exercise rather than going to the bank and sitting there and talking to the branch manager. Some of us, I think when I was young, I remember going and standing in a lot of queues, right? But as technology comes in, one of the things that happens, of course, is that you lose that human touch. And this is something that we heard back from the consumers. I don't know how many of you know what is called a need scope, but we basically went and spoke to consumers and understood who are we as a brand. And as I mentioned before, there's something called our heritage as UTI. So we had that Sarkari kind of a starting. It works in an advantage and a disadvantage both, because people felt that we were empathetic, warm, down to earth. The joke in the bank is other banks had technology, they had process, we didn't have any, so our people had to be nice, right? So as Amitabh came in, we started really building up the technology bit. We've done millions of dollars of investment in technology. We just advertised our app, opened this World Cup. I'll talk a bit about that. But we fundamentally figured that as a brand, we sit on this what's called a 9 o'clock brand. And our competition and the industry itself is not in this warm, empathetic space. It's in a very transactional space, the banking industry. So we said, this is what we want to own. We want to own who we are. And we needed an embodiment of that in our brand language. And that's where this brand idea of open came through. This is not just about the brand, but it's about the employees and what you will feel. Like say if you join Axis Bank, you will feel we're an open bank. If you are a customer, when you walk into the branch, or even if you interact with our technology, we want you to feel this, right? So the core of open is not just a brand idea, it's about who we are. And when we launched this the first time, we had to actually put out a manifesto. So I don't know if you guys can read it from there, but it says open is more than a sign that hangs on our door. It's a sign of what to expect when you walk in. And a little bit of progress, right? We talked about progress before, but we're basically telling the consumer that for your dreams, we are open. We will listen to you, we'll have a conversation with you, and we welcome with all your hearts. And the narrative that we coined was Dil Se Open, right? So we are Dil Se Open, that's who we are. And we launched this with in 2019 with our branch as the embodiment of that, right? So the branch is how we would talk about it being open. And even if you meet somebody in the branch, they'll probably talk to you about this whole aspect about Dil Se Open. Now I'm just going to play some ads to make you see how that journey has come through. Let me play the first one here, see if it works. Is there sound, guys? I don't think there's sound. Can you check? Can we go back, guys? I can't seem to move this back. Okay, sorry, I think I found the switch. Okay. This is me, this is not you guys. I'm sorry about that. The other thing that the bank does not allow you to do is take pen drives and fit it into other things, so I have to play it from my laptop. It's always a challenge. If it's not playing, it's fine. I just talk through it. Okay, let's try again.
हाँ माँ, don't worry, मैं ठीक हूँ.
ओपन एक्सिस बैंक में ये साइन सिर्फ दरवाजे पे नहीं लटकता, हमारे हर अंदाज में झलकता है. ओपन तो रवैया है हमारा, जगह जगह दिखेंगे इसके इशारे. ये आपकी ओर मुड़ी हुई कुर्सियां कहती हैं कि बेझिझक बैठिए कहीं भी. यहां हर सीट, हर सोच है आपके लिए ओपन. आपके आइडियाज के लिए हमारे कान है ओपन।
We have a startup idea.
Okay, tell me about it.
आपकी अनकही जरूरतों के लिए हमारी आंखें हैं ओपन। आप पैसों को घर की लक्ष्मी समझते हैं या हाथों का मैल? हमारा नजरिया है ओपन, सलाह का पिटारा है ओपन। तो आइए 4000 से ज्यादा हमारे किसी भी ब्रांच में आप पाएंगे हमें दिल से ओपन। Axis Bank, दिल से open.
Yeah, so as you saw in the end slate, there were all the subsidiaries, etc. So a lot of cues about who we are as a bank. Then came the pandemic, so all the marketing budgets went out of the window. Came back a bit later, but we decided to stick with this idea of open, right? And so while the first phase was about telling the consumer this is who we are, the second phase is really about saying what can you expect when you walk into the branch, right? So I'm going to play a film we did last year. It's one of them.
लास्ट स्टॉप भाई साहब, हमारे साथ वापस चलना है क्या?
ये 3 पुलिया सुना आपने?
3 पुलिया? आप वापस ही चल लो।
अरे आप यहाँ इतनी दूर हमारे लिए?
आपकी मेहनत कहां से कहां पहुंच रही है? मैं आपके एक साइन के लिए यहाँ नहीं आ सकता? हो गया आपका अकाउंट ओपन।
हर बंद राह ओपन हो सकती है, लगता है सिर्फ दिल।
धन्यवाद।
एक्सिस बैंक, दिल से ओपन।
So we went from explaining who we are as a philosophy, saying ki we will open every door for you, right? If you remember the manifesto. I'm going to skip through this. What we did after this campaign is instead of just keeping it as a TV campaign, we actually had real life stories of our own employees going the distance. So we heard this really, I'm not going to play this, but one story where a customer went actually to check, he got a call from his NRI client who was in Australia saying, my sister's not responding, this is during COVID. And he went actually to the house and found that she had actually passed away sadly. And then when he was asked to contact the relatives, none of them were willing to come to Hyderabad. So he actually did the last rites of the sister and he kept the ashes with him for a year till the employee came back. So we tapped into some of those stories. I get emotional when I say it also. And we made some 5-6 films on our employees. I'm not going to play this, but it's about what would you do for your customer, right? So how much would you, and we talked about their name. So in our case, I heard some questions about Rocky and Rani. We are never going to have a brand ambassador. Our brand ambassadors are 1 lakh people who work for us, right? I am a brand ambassador. The people who you meet in the branch are brand ambassadors. And it's very difficult in this industry because that's your brand ambassador. If you have a bad experience with that person in the branch, you're probably not going to think of us as a bank of your choice, right? So we really wanted to build that out, and that's what we did last year. This year, like we said, and I'm not showing you any films here, we try to bring the same ethos into our app. So we believe we have, I'm in trouble with ASCII because we said it's the world's highest rated app. We believe it is the best app in the country on banking. We have a 4.8 rating on the Play Store. And we just advertised this, I don't know if any of you have seen us in the World Cup, just to give me, make me feel good. If you can later tell me if you've seen it, it'd be nice. But fundamentally, we want this app to also behave like a person would. So for example, if you're running out of checkbooks, using technology, we can actually tell you, we know what numbers of your checkbook is there. And if you're reaching the last 5, the app is going to ping you and saying, hey, it's time for you to ask for a new checkbook, if anybody writes checks anymore, that is. Let's say you've got your incentive at the end of December, if you're an MNC, or end of March, if you're an Indian company, the app will tell you, hey, we see a big amount in your account, which is not normal. Would you want to invest it in XYZ, right? So those are the kind of ways in which we are trying to make the technology talk and become more customer-centric. And therefore, the experience that you have when you walk into the branch has to happen when you use the app. Because we are a bank, we also have multiple products, right? So like I said, we have credit cards. It's a very indulgent product. Doesn't really go with all this warm advertising that I'm showing you. This is really about indulgence. So we actually have to think through how to use the open lens to talk about credit cards. We just did a campaign again not playing this. And with the acquisition of Citi, we needed to talk a bit more product. So this is why this year we've talked about cards, but we're also talking about how that's opening up experience for you as a consumer. I've got a lot more slides and very little time. So I'm going to also talk about the fact that this is not just about how we are to the external world, A lot of people have asked me today if I've flown in from Bombay, but I'm based out of Gurgaon, because we actually have a policy of people working only 2 days a week in office, which we started during COVID and we're still sticking to. It's part of being open, right? The person who filed the Section 370 article claim against the government is our DNI head, Harish, right? So we have a lot of things even in our people policies, because we truly believe that if our people are not happy, then our customers can't be happy, right? So Giga is a way where you can actually, there are jobs that are earmarked as Giga where you don't have to come to office, you can just work from home. Even that 2 days a day in office is not required. So we have a lot of these things that we try and build. Like I said, it's not just a philosophy, it's how we want our employees to feel and how we want our customers to feel. I'm not going to play some of these ads because I have only 50 seconds. Maybe I'll play one of them, which is my personal favorite. I think over a period of time, it's not just about large campaigns. As a large brand, as an institution in this country, we want to stand for what is right. We want to make India and maybe the world a more open place. I'll just play you an ad that we made for social for Women's Day. So I'll just play that and then we after that.
World's entering the AI race is more and more complex.
Everyone believes AI is going to change the world. And AI agrees. And so to test the future on its claims of equality, we asked it some questions. Where the only variable we changed was gender. Think the explanation to the woman is more simplified. So did we. But to make sure, we asked more. And the answers continue to be oversimplified. The future is AI. But the future seems to have learned some biases from us. To change the future, we need to fix the present. There are more than 691 million women in India. This Women's Day, let's all come together to build a world that is unbiased and equal. A world of finance without bias. Axis Bank. Dil se open.
Can I continue? I know I'm over time. Do I have 1 more minute? Oh, okay, thanks. So that was basically, actually this was conceived by ad agency on Women's Day. We were looking at AI as a big hot thing, but AI has gender bias. We realized when we asked the questions to ChatGPT. And that comes because the humans that are training that AI have that gender bias, right? So this is one way in which we shone a light on, that the problem that still exists in our society. Similarly, I think this is another topical thing that we did. I'll just play this and then end.
पहाड़ बड़े होते हैं इसलिए वो अक्सर अकेले खड़े होते हैं। पहाड़ बड़े होते हैं और बड़ों की तरह इस बार भी वो सब अकेले सहेंगे, हमसे कुछ नहीं कहेंगे, हर हालात से लड़ेंगे, पर पहाड़ हैं वो, थोड़ी ना किसी के सामने झुकेंगे। पर क्यों ना इस बार हम भी थोड़े बड़े बनते हैं। टूट रहे हैं पहाड़, डूब रहा है हिमाचल, क्यों ना खुद से उनकी मदद करते हैं। इन बड़े पहाड़ों को आइए बड़ा बनाए रखते हैं।
So just another example of something that is happening in society. We did this because it's an opportunity to try and ask citizens to contribute. The upside is, which we did not think, we actually got the Himachal government's account, which we didn't have till that time. Because they saw this ad and said, okay, you guys are doing so much, so we should also do something for you. That was not the intent. The intent is always to do good, but that's how we want to build this brand going into the future, and that's all I had. I'm happy to take questions.